There are three ways to power the F8. One is by an external battery connected by the Hiroshi cable. Another is by the external batteries, AA's, that go in the back of the unit. A third way is by directly powering the unit off of wall power. For most of your work, you'll be working in the field, and so you'll need to be working off battery power. Even if you are inside where there is power available, it is always a good idea to run off battery power whenever possible, because what you may need to do very quickly is to move your cart or move the recorder, and if you are connected to wall power, that's going to make that quick move more difficult. Let's start by connecting this battery brick. A couple of things to notice. One, there is an on switch, and these green lights tell you the charge of the battery. All four means that it's fully charged, and depending on how many mics you're powering through the unit itself, you can get close to 6 to 8 hours. However, any number of factors will reduce that. You connect the battery to the F8 via this cable. Make sure that you are using the 12 volt, so it comes out of this connector up here. And then on the side of the unit is the corresponding Hiroshi. The easiest way to attach this is to seat it and then rotate the connector until it lines up, and then just press it in. The easiest way to remove it is just to slide up the sleeve, which is on a spring lock, and pull it out. Power up. One of the things you'll notice on the screen on the upper right is information about the battery. Notice that you've got two pieces of information here. One, it tells you whether it's external or internal. And then two, you have a measurement of how much battery power is remaining. So note that even though the battery brick read full, we don't quite have what the unit is reading as a full charge. That's because that's actually looking for 14 volts, and the battery brick is only giving you 12 volts. The best practice for powering and using the F8 is to have a full brick powered up and connected and have brand new AA's in the back. When you have both the brick and the AA's powered up, the F8 is going to draw power from the source with the most voltage. Chances are that's going to be the external brick until it drops below a certain level, and then it will switch over seamlessly to the AA's. So that's why it's good always to start with a brand new fresh brick and to have the AA's charged, so that if your external battery happens to go bad during a take, you will still be able to keep on rolling with the AA's. To charge the brick, you'll use the battery charger. And instead of running a cable from here to the F8, what you'll do is plug this into the wall and then plug this into the 12 volt in and out. And notice it says, please turn on the switch for charging. This is the switch. That's the switch that has to be on as well when you are running the battery. These are the suggested menu settings for shooting with the F8. I'm not going to go through all of the menu settings in every subfolder. I'm only going to highlight certain ones. However, it is really useful for you to know what all the other ones are and to check to make sure that no one has accidentally made a choice that's not the one that you want. If you so wish, you can go to System, and you can go to Factory Reset, and it will reset all of the settings to, quote, the factory, which is not a bad thing to do. Done. Now it turns the unit off. So to start back up again, you need to power up. It will ask you to set date, month, and time, which is always a really good thing to do. Start by selecting the SD card that you will record to. SD card 1 has a check, which means that that's where the priority recording is going to happen. If you wanted to go to SD2 and then press the selector button and hold it, let's go back and see what that looks like now. And now the SD2 is selected. You can only have one of these selected at a time, but you can record to both. So in general, select SD1. Let's go down next to record. There's a number of settings here that you want to have. We want to record to SD1, and there's a certain file type that we want to select. Right now it says track 1 to 8 poly. There's a number of other choices, but the only two choices you would really want to use are track 1 to 8 polywave or track 1 to 8 LNR polywave. And I'm going to select 1 and 8 plus LNR as the choice. Hit menu to return. Sample rate should be 48. Bit depth should be 24. Dual channel record means any mic routed to input 1 will also be recorded to input 5, or 2 to input 6, 3 to input 7, etc. The idea is that you can set lower or higher record levels for the same signal to give yourself a backup track. You can certainly use that. I actually find it easier usually to leave it off because it just creates a whole bunch of excess tracks in the polywave file, but use your judgment. Pre-recording is actually a really good thing to have on. Pre-recording means that if you happen to roll after somebody just said something really extremely interesting, like let's say if you're on a doc shoot, if pre-rec is on, there's a buffer that it will actually be able to record, which means, for example, that if you hear somebody say something and you hit record right away, you'll get everything 6 seconds back from when you recorded. After Finder and after Rec, go into System. There's a couple of things here to explore. One is power source. And notice right here, shutdown voltage says 9 volts. In other words, when the internal batteries or the external brick hit 9, the unit will stop drawing power from them. And that's sort of a safety. Note the nominal power though, nominal voltage says 14.8. If it's set to 14.8, but the brick is only giving you 12 volts to start with, that's why we're not going to see a full charge here. So, in fact, go into nominal voltage and change it to 12. And notice that when you do, this battery now is reading a full charge. So, level meter, type, peak, peak in VU, VU only. Right now it's in peak. Let's go out to the menu and notice something. The meter is from -45 to 0. And here, 0 means complete and utter distortion. If we go back in here for a second, and if we choose level meter, and instead of peak, we do VU only, notice that the meter scale has changed. -30, there's 0, and that's +20. So, where would you put dialogue? Well, here you'd put it right about -8. This above 0 here is headroom. This means that if you get some peaks, it's not going to sound fully distorted. If they get all the way to +20, there sure are. So normal dialogue with a VU scale, right about -8 is good. If our scale is peak, however, we're going to want optimum dialogue right around -18, -16. Because notice that anything above there is also headroom, which means that you can have a peak that goes to -12 or -6 or maybe -8 without being completely distorted. The trick with digital sound is that you never quite know when you've actually overmodulated something. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. That's why, in general, for dialogue, you want normal dialogue around -18 and occasional peaks going up to here to give you a safety. Back in the system menu, there's one other control. We want to go to track knob option. Now, these are the track knobs. And notice that you've got 3 choices. You've got trim, fader, or mixer. The default factory reset is fader. Fader controls the amount of volume going on to the left and right channels. Trim controls the amount of volume going on the ISO tracks 1 to 8. Mixer gives you the ability to choose trim fader in another menu setting closer to the top. So select mixer. One other menu setting to start with, go to SD card, go to format, and format. Done.